Hey guys, Spence here, and I'm a secret agent. Don't worry, I was trained for this. You'll never take me over! Agent down. In a cyberpunk dystopian future, like many others, massive corporations control the world. And one of the few organizations not puppeteered by their strings is the organization that you work for, called Invisible. Here, you act as an operator, guiding agents through their missions. At the beginning of the game, it seems like business as usual for Invisible, until it turns out the quote-unquote corporations they never get a face launch a massive attack on Invisible HQ. The good news is, which is a very short list, the leader managed to escape with the AI that they've used to primarily do their operations, along with 2 agents. The bad news is, all other agents are MIA or dead, and they have no access to their funds, lacking a lot of equipment, and they have 72 hours to launch a counterattack on the corporations before they run out of power and basically...
Or will be defenseless against their scans. If that happens, we may as well just crash this thing into the ocean. You've never seen the inside of a corporate deprogramming chamber. I won't see the inside of another.
What it lacks in a deep plot, it makes up for in charm, as your commanding officer always has something interesting to say with her charm. The description of items are neat half the time, meanwhile the description of agents, well, is far more interesting. But that being said, the game's plot is very light. Now from this point forward, I will talk about things in the order that you will probably encounter them in. Now that plot I told you about is one way to play the game. When you first boot up a new file, you have a number of options to tweak your campaign. You can change the difficulty, though you want to be on beginner because it'll be hard regardless. You can change the number of hours you have to be infinite or less than 72 hours. You have a number of things at your disposal to do. After your first tutorial, and then the intro cutscene, and then technically your second tutorial, but whatever, the game pretty much throws you to the sharks. In the game, you'll be bouncing between your 2 main screens, in mission screen and your map screen. In the map screen, you'll basically be choosing what sites you go to and managing your agent's stats and inventories, and also buying things when you happen to have enough cash and something catches your eye from the black market dealer named Monster.
Greetings. I don't often perform transactions face-to-face.
Agents themselves do not have classes, and they have their own beginning stat allocations and abilities, making them all unique in their own way. One of the first agents you get, named Decker, is capable of moving really quickly with his stat allocations, and has an ability that allows him to cloak himself, making him very good at going in and out of situations and places. Meanwhile, the second agent you start with, International, is capable of hacking things through walls and can also is good at hacking things. Now in regards to mission types, there are a number to choose from. You can be stealing prototype tech for your agents, stealing money, rescuing fellow agents that will then be added to your roster, or accessing an item store. Yes, one of your mission types is you breaking and entering to access what's basically an item store that you'll still have to pay for. I can't make that up. In missions, it's a turn-based strategy game, with you always going first, then followed by the enemy. Now, while the movement system works very similar to XCOM, Fire Emblem, and Massive Chalice, the thing is that combat isn't the most recommended option. Actually, it's kind of discouraged, since all of your agents can only get hit once before they're taken down. So stealth is very much so recommended, especially with all of the sight cones that are coming from cameras and the enemy patrolling the areas. Now, you do have the means to deal with the roaming guards, the cameras, and sometimes automated attack drones. To deal with the guards, you can basically have your agents sneak around to ambush them, which will knock them out. If you leave an agent on top of them, they won't wake up, but if you leave them, they'll then wake up 3 turns later usually, depending on what item you use to knock them out with in the first place. Or you can kill them, but that will literally depend on if you have a weapon that actually kills. But that in itself has its benefits and downsides that I'll explain later. Now, to deal with the cameras and attack drones, you can use your wonderful AI Incognita to basically hack them. The thing is, Incognita's power is limited, and to actually give her more power, you have to hack consoles to give her some. I guess you could just wirelessly give her power, I don't know how that works. But Incognita is very useful, and along with your agents, she can also be upgraded. Add that to the list of things you can do on the map screen. Now let's talk about the alarm level. Basically, with every turn that passes, the alarm level will grow up some. After 5 turns pass by, it will go up 1 level. And each level, various things happen. After the first level, nothing happens, but after that, extra cameras become active. After that, then extra security guards will start flooding into the map. And certain guards, if they're killed, will actually increase the alarm level, so even less reason to want to kill them. After you complete a mission, you're then rated on how fast you got it done, how many things you hacked, how many guards that you snuck by, incapacitated, or killed, because if any are killed, you actually lose money from it, and then you're given money on your performance and your net worth goes up. Lastly, all levels are randomly generated. Even if you retry a level, it will be randomly generated again. You have to use everything in your environment to your advantage, and you have to be careful, as it's very easy to mess up in this game. Eventually, you'll get into the swing of things, of going cautiously through levels while being expedient about it, all the while with the difficulty increasing at a fairly reasonable rate, with enemies that require different things to take them down, and viruses that will be in consoles and computers that you normally be able to hack without any consequence, that will do things such as half the power that Incognita has. The game is fun and very satisfying to play, mainly because of all the complexity and things going on. Adversely, that is also a negative because the game is so difficult and complex. I'm not saying the game shouldn't be difficult, it should do what it wants to do and do it well, which this game does. The thing is, if you're not into games that you will fail repeatedly over and over again in, well, take my word for it. There's a very good reason when you start a new file, they tell you that you will fail over and over again. Presentation-wise, well, it definitely looks like a Klei Entertainment game. It still has a quote-unquote cartoony art style to it, but it's a lot more stylized in the sense that it's now a lot more sharper and has a cyberpunk bent to it as opposed to their previous games. And in the end, it looks great because of it. Granted, that's my opinion. Sound-wise, the sound effects are nothing particularly special, and the voice acting is good, letting the characters come through. Granted, only really the commander and monster really talk. And Incognita. Soundtrack-wise, it's alright and works well in the sense that as the alarm level rises and if your character gets caught, it becomes more intense. The problem with that is that a lot of the time it's very muted and you don't really get to appreciate it that much. And you can't buy it anywhere, so you're out of luck in that regard. And that's Invisible, Inc. in a nutshell. Would I recommend this game? Yes. If you like roguelike strategy games or stealth games, this is definitely up your alley, and it's well worth the $20, though if you're on the fence, I would say wait for a Steam sale. Because the only reason I can imagine you'd be on the fence is if you're kinda wondering about the difficulty thing. Which, yeah, it's definitely a thing to keep in mind, as the game is designed for you to fail multiple times, but for you to learn from each failure. That being said, it's still a fun experience, win or lose as far as I can tell. In short, a very good strategy game that tries new ideas and does them very well, though keep in mind, like joining an agency like Invisible, it's not for the faint of heart.